You know, exploitation films have always been the sort of wild west of cinema, shocking, sexy, scary, violent, and always pushing the boundaries of what you can get away with on screen. I am Chase with AVA Pop Culture, and today we are counting down the 10 most boundary-pushing modern exploitation films. These movies prove that sleaze and style go hand in hand, but be warned, this list is messy, it is bloody, it is scary and sexy, and absolutely outrageous, just the way good exploitation cinema should be. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. All right, so exploitation movies, Grindhouse movies, whatever you want to call them. I have 10 modern exploitation classics here that prove that while the Grindhouse midnight movie theater cinema may be gone, that old school spirit still remains. It's just added in some slick filmmaking and some modern budgets and absolutely zero interest in playing it safe. I have 10 awesome movies that you have to check out here that push those boundaries. Let's jump right into the list with number 10. And oh bother, she's got a body count. I am talking Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey from 2023. This is the one that's a children's story you never thought you would see on any kind of midnight movie exploitation list. But when Winnie the Pooh, the original character, entered the public domain territory, you had directors coming out of the woodwork to exploit this. And Rise Frake Waterfeld, I believe is how you say his name, the director, he saw an opportunity to turn the 100-acre wood into a slaughterhouse. This is a twisted reimagining where Pooh and Piglet are abandoned by Christopher Robin and they go absolutely feral. They murder anyone unlucky enough to wander into their woods in scenes that are just dripping with low-budget gore. This one is exploitation because it takes a universally wholesome property, a story that we all know and love, and flips it, turns it upside down for shock value. There is no other thing you're going for here. It's made to provoke outrage, and it absolutely succeeded. It actually got banned at Hong Kong and made international headlines before it ever got out in any. Nobody had ever seen a frame of this film, and it was making headlines. The crew on this film actually only had 10 days to shoot, and the entire costuming for this costs less than what most productions spend on one day of catering. But that is Hollywood films, big budgets. This is Grindhouse DIY exploitation cinema. And while it might not be your cup of tea, may not be mine, you have to respect that low budget Grindhouse spirit. So Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey comes in on this list at number 10. Number 9 says we've got one chain, two sinners, and no safe words. We are looking back to 2006 for Black Snake Moan.
Found you out by the side of the road. I want to tell you about that.
This is Craig Brewer's sultry, sweaty Southern drama that stars Samuel L. Jackson and Christina Ricci. Jackson is Lazarus, a broken, sort of beaten down older blues man, and Christina Ricci is Ray, a young woman with an absolutely wild streak that runs through her that's wider than the Mississippi River. And she is full of past trauma. And when Lazarus finds Ray beaten in the middle of the street and left for dead, what does he do? He decides he's going to save her soul and get rid of the wickedness by chaining her to his radiator. And that's sort of what makes this exploitation in and of itself. You've got the image of Christina Ricci in tiny panties and a little cut-off shirt, and she's chained up to this guy's radiator. It sparks debates over sexism, sexuality, power dynamics, and the imagery of that is taboo by itself. But if you look a little bit deeper, it also weaves a story of redemption through here. It's got great music that sort of brings it together, and a lot of that human vulnerability that is all cooked together in this Southern fried sort of way that just adds this sweaty, understandable realism to it that almost borders on a sick wholesomeness to the agendas of the people involved in this movie. But in this one, Ricci, the exploitation gets real because she wore the chain so much that she reportedly bruised her hips. And Jackson, he got into it too. He learned to play the guitar for real, performing his own songs on camera. Everyone went all in. That adds to the realism. It adds to the vibe. Black Snake Moan earns his place on this list at number 9.
You ain't right yet.
All right, so now we've got some bottom shelf booze and some top shelf carnage. We go to the most recent film on this list. It is a remake of another exploitation film. We're looking at 2024's Street Trash.
We don't want this party turning into a massacre.
Massacre sounds good to me.
Now, this one was recently released by Vinegar Syndrome, who are known for putting out their share of exploitation films, B-movies, all kinds of stuff that most of you have never heard of. This one, as I said, is a reimagining of the 1987 Gore Fest, and this new Street Trash keeps the original's crazy premise, which is there's a cheap liquor called Viper that melts anyone who drinks it into a Technicolor sludge. But this one, being that it's new, it gets a little bit more of that slick filmmaking we talked about, a little bit more budget, and it goes for maximum splatter with upgraded effects, and the result ends up being more slime, more guts, and more street level filth than anything that came before it. That's part of why it's exploitation. It is also unapologetically flat out disgusting. The kills are over the top. The humor is just pitch black, and the goal is to push the audience past their comfort zone, and it really does it. The gore effects in this one used over 300 gallons of fake slime, and the film premiered at genre festivals with a splash zone seating where they handed out ponchos. This is get in there, roll your sleeves up, and stick your hands face first into the slime filmmaking. You gotta respect it. It's paying homage to the classic that came before it. Street Trash is an exploitation film of the highest and grossest order. That's why it earns a spot on our list. You know, when your heart's on the line, there is no such thing as too far, and Chev Chelios in Crank from 2006 knows that better than anybody. The character played by Jason Statham is poisoned with a synthetic Chinese compound that will kill him if his heart rate drops too low, so his solution is to keep moving fast. He's going to be violent, aggressive, and utterly insane, and that is what the whole movie is. It is exploitation down to a T, full of car chases, shootouts, public brawls, nudity, and a sex scene in the middle of a crowded market to keep the adrenaline up, not to mention things going down the road happening. We'll just say that. It keeps that adrenaline flowing throughout, and that is part of the exploitation factor here. It's built entirely around excess, absurd violence, wild sexual humor, and set pieces designed to make you laugh and wince all at the same time. The directors of this film often filmed from rollerblades, skating alongside cars at full speed to get the shots. Again, that is that sort of indie, old school grindhouse spirit of DIY filmmaking with the passion put in there that kind of throws back to those old grindhouse theater days. And for that reason, Crank, a nonstop action exploitation ride, checks in at number 7 on this list. All right, step right up, step right up.
Check out the freaks before they check you out.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are about to enter a world of darkness. A world where life and death are meaningless and pain is God.
We are jumping back to 2003 for House of a Thousand Corpses. This is Rob Zombie's debut feature film, and it plays like a haunted house film built on the bones of 70s exploitation and grindhouse horror. Now, this one actually stars my friend who starred in my movie, Dark Roads. We got Bill Moseley in here playing the iconic Otis Driftwood, and they just absolutely go for it in this film. You have four young travelers who meet this crazy Firefly family, say that a bunch of times fast, of which Bill's Otis Driftwood is a part of, and they turn out to be a clan of sadistic killers who torture and murder with theatrical flair. They get all into it. It's not enough for them to kill. They've got to enjoy it. They've got to put on a spectacle like it is a sideshow, a freak show circus. And that is part of why it's exploitation. It's a mashup of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre's grit with those freak show aesthetics and relentless, and I mean relentless, shock value. Zombie doesn't just want to scare you, he wants to drown you in grotesque spectacle. I actually talked to Bill about this movie and Devil's Rejects on the set of our film, and he reminded me, even though he was uncomfortable with some of it sometimes, art is not safe. That's definitely the case with exploitation films. This one actually got shelved at Universal for years because of fear that it would get an NC-17 rating or above. Eventually, Rob Zombie bought it back and sold it to Lionsgate, who released it uncut, and the rest is exploitation horror cinema history. House of a Thousand Corpses, a legend in this genre. It comes in at number 6. Checking in at number 5 is Piranha 3D from 2010.
Oh my, excuse me, but is that a f***ing piranha?
This one knows exactly what it is, and it is grounded in exploitation film roots thanks to Roger Corman. When a earthquake opens up a fissure beneath Lake Victoria during spring break, it unleashes prehistoric piranhas into a party paradise, and you get boobs, bikinis, butts, blood, and fish guts filling up the screen with gory and glorious spectacle that's equal parts horror and comedy, and that's why it kind of fits into the exploitation. It's paying homage to a classic exploitation film, Piranha, but then it just dials that stuff all the way up to 11 with the sex, with the gore, the nudity, and the like this crazy absurdity of it all. It's just kind of up to cartoonish levels, and everyone is in on the joke. You've got a great cast. You got Jerry O'Connell, you got Ving Rhames is in here. You've got Christopher Lloyd is in here. Elizabeth Shue is in here. You even have Richard Dreyfuss making an appearance in this film. And everyone is in on the joke. It is a loving throwback to that Corman creature feature era that was so big, but with enough budget and slick filmmaking to kind of turn the carnage and the nudity up to jaw-dropping levels. The production on this film actually used over 80,000 gallons of fake blood during one sequence, and that is the most ever used in a single day in film history. You want to talk exploitation film legend? That's how you get it done. Piranha 3D comes in at number 5. This next one has love, it has crime, and a trunk full of trouble. We go to 2011's Drive. Now, I recently just saw this movie like in the past year for the first time ever, and Ryan Gosling plays an unnamed driver And he is a stuntman by day and a getaway wheelman by night. And when he tries to help his neighbor who's in trouble, it pulls him into a spiral of mob violence that you think he's just not going to survive and he's not going to be able to get out of. And that leads us into the exploitation angle, because beneath the sort of beautiful cinematography of the neon-soaked art house style, there is pure exploitation pulp here. You've got the stoic anti-hero. You've got brutal bursts of violence and crime that come straight out of 70s noir. And that violence takes you as a viewer by surprise so hard it becomes shocking, and you feel like you're watching a completely different movie that is upsetting and you were not prepared for. That is the essence of exploitation cinema. In fact, that infamous elevator scene, if you see this movie, you're going to know what I'm talking about. The sudden brutality of that just goes on, and you see it and there's no cutaway. It is pure exploitation. It actually caused mass walkouts at early screenings of this film. Proof that you can still shock and have exploitation cinema even with seasoned moviegoers, and a great film. Drive from 2011 has to be on this list. If you don't think it's exploitation, think again. It comes in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have to have some Robert Rodriguez. We have to have some Quentin Tarantino. We have to have 1996's From Dusk Till Dawn.
Welcome to slavery.
No thanks. I already had a wife.
This one is exploitation cinema at its finest. Grindhouse. Now, forget what they did later where they purposely tried to create that with Planet Terror and Death Proof. Those were obvious trying to create it. Here, they created it without really trying to create it. They were just making a great movie that starts with two outlaw brothers kidnapping a family to help them cross into the Mexico border, where they stop at a random biker bar for the night, only to discover that it is crawling with ancient vampires. And that's where the exploitation starts. That might start as a violent crime thriller, but the mid-film switch to a genre that is full of not only action and nudity and, sexual situations and frank dialogue, it's got tons of supernatural horror, blood, and it just becomes a gore fest throughout. It is a Grindhouse magic trick, the way this movie switches into something you were not expecting and right into exploitation cinema perfection. When you add in Selma Hayek's iconic snake dance, you have pulp perfection. The titty twister in this movie was actually a massive set built in the desert, and Tarantino insisted on writing himself the role of the foot-obsessed bank-robbing brother just so he could shoot Selma Hayek's dance up close. That's the word. That is exploitation cinema behind the scenes. That lands From Dusk Till Dawn on this list at number 3. Half man, half machine, all out of mercy. We are going all the way back to 1987 for Robocop.
The future of law enforcement. Robocop.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Man, this is one that is exploitation cinema done to perfection. You have Officer Alex Murphy, who is brutally gunned down in the film, and then he is rebuilt as a corporate-owned cyborg law enforcer. There's jokes running around. You think about this. This guy had a bad day at work. He got killed on his first day at the job, was resurrected and put back together and sent back to work. And that sort of leans into the exploitation. It's an ultra-violent flick full of action and razor-sharp satire. This is directed by one of my favorite directors of all time, Paul Verhoeven, and he loves just lampooning corporate greed, media excess, police militarization, all that stuff, while delivering some of the most exploitation filled shootouts and scenes of all time. The boardroom scene, for instance, where there is a malfunction of the big ED-209, I think it is, that scene was so shocking that it was one of those, like we talked about before, that caused early screeners who were watching the film to leave. And Orion Pictures actually worried that if people saw this and they were so turned away, so shocked, they either wouldn't watch the film or they wouldn't take it seriously. And Paul Verhoeven just stopped and said, yeah, that's the point. And that is the point of exploitation films. He got it. Verhoeven gets it. Robocop outlines it perfectly. If you have not seen Robocop or any Paul Verhoeven movie, a lot of them can fit into this category. Starship Troopers, Total Recall, Basic Instinct. You could argue those are all exploitation cinema in one way or the other. You have to check them out. Robocop sort of stands at the top, and that's why it comes in at number 2. And that just leaves number 1. They call him Django, and they will never forget that name. We are talking Django Unchained from 2012. Quentin Tarantino, again, with a bloody spaghetti western revenge flick that follows Django Friedman, a freed slave who teams up with a bounty hunter to rescue his wife from basically the most sadistic plantation owner you've ever seen, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. You got Candyland that you're going to, and it is not all sunshine and rainbows, I promise you that. That takes us right into the exploitation heart of this film, where it explores historical injustice, but it really doesn't care about that. It filters that through the pulp of just so much over-the-top violence, just red day-glow, red paint, blood splattering all over the place with stylized shootouts and genre excess just oozing out of every part of this film. It is a revenge fantasy with a grindhouse heart to it. Tarantino originally wanted Will Smith for this film, but he turned it down because it was so over the top. He wanted it to be a love story rather than a revenge-driven gunman type story that we got. Tarantino said, yeah, no thanks, but no thanks. We are going exploitation, grindhouse, excess, turned up to 11. That's what you get with Django Unchained, one of my favorite Quentin Tarantino movies. Just excellent performances across the board in this film. That proves that you don't have to be low budget and all those kind of things to be grindhouse and to make an exploitation film. You can have some of the best actors ever, best directors, writers, great cinematography. If everybody buys in and everyone commits to the spirit of old grindhouse and exploitation films, you can come out with something great. That is Django Unchained, and that is why it is number 1 on this list. And there you have it, from melting bodies to killer piranhas, from pulp crime, revenge stories. All of these films prove that the grindhouse spirit didn't die with the 70s. It just got sharper, louder, and a whole lot meaner. But which of these movies are the ones that you like the best? What other ones would you add to this list? Let me know. I love this type of cinema. It is some of my favorite to watch and get into, because you know the spirit that went into it. Everybody is in on the joke. They're in on the love of it, and it comes through in the films. And that's what I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And if you do, you're going to get your name and lights on every single video. Behind the scenes looks at my filmmaking and so much more. My Patreon link is right down there. Right now, there is a discount code, NEW25, for 25% off of your Patreon membership. And over there, we do all these reviews and lists completely Uncensored, and we turn it up to 11 in old Grindhouse exploitation spirit. And I'd love to see you over there. But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.
I know.